G'day guys and girls, it's that time again. It is tournament time. We're having another tournament this time and doing something special. We're going to have a double tournament. That's two different tournaments, but with the same deadline. Anybody can enter in both tournaments, and you can enter like one fleet into each tournament, and that's A-OK. So, two tournaments at once. It's going to be great. Now, based on the feedback that people gave me last time, what people really want to see seems to be the Dreadnoughts, the two Dreadnought match, and the Carrier match. Or, a lot of people suggested a Dreadnought and Escort, but I think the Carrier is kind of similar to that, so that's what we're going to do. So, I'll put this on while we go through the rules and such. So, yeah, okay, we'll go through the rules first and then we'll talk about some extra things. The first match will be the Double Dreadnought, also known as the Gemini Clash tournament. In this tournament, you will submit 2 ships per fleet. Those ships must be between 6 and 8,000 P each. So 2 Dreadnought ships, the biggest ships you can make. Both ships must be from the same faction. You are not allowed to use hidden blocks, so the default palette only. You are not allowed to overlap blocks. No mods are allowed. I am disregarding spinning ships, because nobody likes spinning ships. I'm defining spinning ships as any ship which uses angular momentum to get projectiles going way faster than they should, or which uses its spinning to mitigate damage. So if you have a big, fat ship which spins really slowly as it tries to dodge things, that's okay. Next, there is no troll ships, which means, well, there are lots of arguments about what the definition of a troll ship is. In my case, because we're playing with asteroids, I'm saying that your ship must be able to move around an asteroid and fight something on the other side. It's quite simple. So, you've got to have some thrusters, it's got to be moving. I'll let you know when I test the fleet if it's okay, but, you know, don't send me something which has just a million armor blocks and 1 thruster. I'm not going to allow that. Now, there's one final rule, and this is kind of important: no nukes. The reason that no nukes are allowed in this tournament, this subcategory, is because we are playing with asteroids. And when we play with asteroids on, nukes, they're just sort of even more overpowered. Also, there's been a change with the points in the past update, and again, nukes just kind of cheese their way through. Yeah, so regrettably, there'll be no nukes allowed, but yeah, that's only that. So, then the next tournament, which is the one that we've got going on in the background, is the Carrier Calamity. In this match, you're going to send in a carrier ship and a fleet of fighters. So, to be specific, you have 8,000 P to spend on any number of carrier ships. So any number of ships which have a factory on them. So I was originally going to say just one big 8,000 P carrier, but then I realized that none of my fleets are actually built like that. I have a lot of ships which basically I designed mid-sized carriers, and then yeah, so that's what we're going to go with, is mid-sized carrier ships. Or really, you can do whatever you like. You can have micro carrier ships if you want. I don't recommend it, but you could. Right, so the rules. 8,000 P for any number of carriers. Then you have 8,000 P to spend on fighters and bombers and escort ships. So those ships have to be between 300 and 2,000 P each. So for the carriers, there aren't very many limits, but for the smaller ships, there are. Now, in this game mode, we will be playing with resources on. This means that when a ship is destroyed, it drops resources, and there are plants around the map which will spawn resources like normal, and then they can be collected, and the carriers will build more ships. So keep that in mind. However, you are not allowed to use solar panels, because solar panels would make Faction 4 even more overpowered, and that would be terrible for everybody. So, no solar panels. Then we have some more rules, same as the last tournament. Your fleet must all be of the same faction, you can't use hidden blocks, you can't overlap blocks, you're not allowed to use no modded blocks. You aren't allowed to make a spinner, and you aren't allowed to make a troll. However, for the carrier match, nukes are allowed. Of course, due to the cost of the nukes, you'll only be able to fit them on your carriers, but if you want to, you're allowed to do that, because I think it'll have less impact when we have a lot more ships. When we've just got the 2 ships, it's a bit of a problem. Okay, now, I need to talk about the maps that we're going to be playing on. So, you've seen a few in the background as I've been talking. we are playing with asteroids and we are playing with planets. In the first tournament, the double Dreadnought tournament, we will be playing with a planet fleet. It doesn't really matter what colour they are for that one. I think I'll probably go with pink because they're pink. But I should go out into this menu to show you. This is the options menu. This is what we will be using. So the asteroid fill is at 33% and the asteroid blocks are at 50 blocks. This is pretty small and I think that's a good size. I've also reduced the arena size by a little bit. This is a bit controversial, I suppose, but I found that with this particular layout of arena size, asteroid, and asteroid fill, they tend not to spawn inside ships. So one thing with the asteroids is that they do occasionally spawn inside of a ship, or a ship spawns inside an asteroid, and that's bad. But this particular layout seems to minimize that. So yeah, the planets don't really matter for the Dreadnought tournament, so they'll just be whatever I think is prettiest. However, for the carrier tournament, they will be on blue planets. I've been told that the blue planets grow the fastest and create the most P, so I think that'll make it more interesting to see what happens. For the Dreadnought match, resources will be off. Time limits, I'm going to set to 2 minutes. The asteroids tend to slow things down a lot, and a lot of shots get wasted hitting asteroids, so the matches are longer. That's okay. It will be in a modified bracket format. So this is a bit of a thing. Because ships can spawn in asteroids, even despite my best attempts, and because sometimes an asteroid will spawn right in front of a fleet and then ships will get caught, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to host an external tournament bracket, and that means that I actually get a whole lot more options. So what I'll be doing is just pitting one fleet against one fleet, and then doing this, and then checking like an external website that will bracket up everybody. This means that I can do a double elimination bracket, which means that people will have to lose 2 fights in order to be knocked out of the competition, which I think is pretty great. So yeah, this will take a bit more time on my end, but I'm willing to put that in to see a better fight. And I don't think we've actually had any really bad spawns this time around, so that's pretty good. They aren't terribly common. Okay, so that's everything that you need to know, except of course with the deadline, which again I forgot to put right at the beginning. The deadline is going to be December 4th. It might be delayed like last time, and you'll be able to get a few extra days, but that's the official deadline. The official deadline is December 4th. I will not be officially accepting any more submissions after that time. But before that time, all good. Yep, so just a few final things, which aren't particularly important. A couple of tips. The size, shape, and composition of your fleets actually kind of matters for this, more so than a usual battle, because how you design your ships and how big they are changes how they spawn, and how they spawn changes how likely they are to spawn inside an asteroid or behind an asteroid. So I strongly recommend that you test your fleets a couple of times to see if they get good spawns or bad spawns. Just give it a go. And then the really last thing that I want to say is that the mod showcase tournament, I'm really interested in hosting this. There you have an example of a bad spawn. Purple here is going to do quite well, whereas yellow's stuck here, wasting a lot of DPS on the missiles for some time. And more than wasted DPS, it's when they get stuck on the plants, like this guy, that it really begins to cause problems. You can see he'll free himself eventually, but that's essentially one ship who hasn't participated for a while. Okay, so this would be an example of a match that we get to restart. And when I do it one-on-one, I can do that, and everything works fine. So, the mod showcase tournament, I'm really interested in doing this, but finding mods that are balanced and of reasonable points and polished is kind of a lot of work. I'm still interested in doing it. Hopefully I'll be able to get one done by New Year's, but what would really help me a lot is if you guys could give me ideas or give me references to mods that you think are good and balanced, and then I can go and pull them out in the sandbox, test the blocks, see what can be built out of them, and then vet them yes or no. I can go through things myself. I've got a whole list of mods already, but more would always be better, and that would just be a great help to me. So, thank you very much for listening to me talk for a while, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the tournaments. It's going to be a great, great time. Latest.